What's up, guys, and welcome back to Moan Inc. If you guys are new here, then hello! My name is Erica, and it is a pleasure to have you joining me today on the channel. Because for today's video, as you can see from the title, we are going to be chatting about the Judgement of Paris. But before we can get into that, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you know every single time I post in the future. And now that you have so kindly done that, let's get into today's video. I just want to put a disclaimer at the start of this video, as I always do with these types of videos. This is a general Greek mythology episode, and therefore I'm just going to be discussing the Judgement of Paris in this case in a more general sense, right? So we're not going to be doing too many specifics, and the reason being is because if you guys are regulars, then you'll know this, that the authors of the ancient world oftentimes change Greek myths in order to adapt them to the story that they want to tell, right? So the idea of Greek mythology retellings in today's world is very much the case that it was in the ancient world as well. They were still writing and rewriting, telling and retelling these myths in very particular ways to make their narratives have different oomph, have different twists and turns, and be slightly different from everybody else's, depending on, obviously, what genre, what type of writing, whether it be theatre, literature, performance, etc., etc. All of that is to say that if you need the Judgement of Paris in Homer, or you need the Judgement of Paris in something else because you are reading a specific text, go to that series that I have on the channel. I will discuss in all of those videos, whether it be Aeschylus, like I said, Homer, whatever it is, I will be specific there. This video is just a general overview. Okay. The Judgement of Paris pops up in so many sources, as I kind of alluded to in my disclaimer. These sources include Homer, Strabo, Pseudo-Apollodorus, Apuleius, Ovid. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, because this moment in mythological history and in Greek mythology as a whole is vital to starting the Trojan War. And therefore, even though it is most commonly referenced in Greek mythology, it is also unbelievably important in Roman mythology, because if you guys don't know, there is a very large text from ancient Rome called the Aeneid, and the whole purpose of that text was to link the ancient Romans to the Trojans, so that way they would just have like a great mythological story, kind of like the ancient Greeks had attached themselves onto these great heroes. Well, the Romans now could through Aeneas. And so what I'm trying to say with all of that is that you will read a number of texts where the Judgement of Paris is relevant. In essence, the Judgement of Paris is a competition between the three most beautiful Olympian Greek goddesses. And it's all to win a literal golden apple. Yeah, okay, so obviously the title as well, that's like a huge thing, but we're really talking about this as a literal golden apple that the goddesses want. It sounds ludicrous when you say it like that, but believe me, it's important. But how does this contest come about? And the way it actually opens its doors into Greek mythology is we have to kind of pull it back to an ancient Greek goddess called Thetis or Thetis. Now, she is a very old sea nymph, and when I say very old, do not picture somebody who looks very old. Obviously, these are divine and immortal beings, but in particular, Thetis was a hottie. This woman was gorgeous. So gorgeous that she attracted the attention of lots of the male Olympian gods. In particular, Zeus and Poseidon really wanted to marry her. Now, the reason why I'm stressing that she was an older deity is because in Homer's Iliad, we have that stress constantly, that as she's referenced, a lot of the Olympians say that they can't act in certain ways in front of Thetis or around Thetis, or even mention her in certain ways because she is older than them and they have to show her authority. So not only was she absolutely beautiful, but she came with this great status, right? Which obviously made her very attractive in multiple ways to these Olympian deities. Naturally, Zeus wants her hand the most. And so he actually goes to double check that everything with Thetis is fine. He doesn't go to Thetis, but he ends up hearing a prophecy on his little journey to go and figure out if Thetis would be a suitable wife. And this prophecy tells him that the son that Thetis will eventually have will end up being greater than his father. And that, for the king of the gods, is a huge no-no. But not only for the king of the gods, right? Zeus hears this and he's like, no other immortal can marry Thetis because that would then give them the potential, this son, whoever the hell that happens to be, the potential to overthrow me. And that's obviously a no. Backstory there is that this happened to Zeus's father and to Zeus's grandfather, right? So we do have almost like an inherited issue of overthrowing kings, right? So Zeus's worry is actually very legitimate. Now, in saying all of that, what does that have to do with Thetis? Well, it means that Zeus ends up telling Thetis that she can only marry a mortal. And the mortal that Thetis ends up marrying is a man called Peleus. At this point in the story, Peleus has not done this, but he will, after his marriage to Thetis, end up going on the Argo with Jason and with all of those incredible heroes to venture from Greece all the way to Colchis in order to get the Golden Fleece and bring it back to Greece and also obviously bring back Medea. But at this point, he hasn't done that. He's just a regular mortal down on mainland Greece, and Zeus is kind of like, you can marry him. So Thetis ends up getting married to Peleus, and they throw this huge wedding and they invite all of the gods, bar one. The one goddess that they don't invite is Eris, who is the ancient Greek goddess of discord and strife. So okay, to be fair to them, naturally, why would you want this person at your wedding if that's the energy that they're bringing? I totally get their perspective, but also I get Eris's perspective in being so pissed off by this when she realizes that Olympus is very quiet that day. She's like, where'd everybody go? And then she realizes, oh my God, all of my family and my friends are at a party that I wasn't invited to. I get it. So when Eris finds out, she decides she's going to go anyways. Right, so she goes to the wedding and she brings a golden apple. And on this golden apple is written Te Kaliste, which translated from ancient Greek means to the fairest or for the most beautiful. Right? And she shows up with this apple. She doesn't even really attend the party, according to the myths. She just kind of shows up, rolls an apple in, and leaves. Right? She leaves this ticking time bomb in the middle of the room and is just like, have fun with that. So Eris leaves, but the golden apple rolls in and it catches the eye of 3 of the Olympian goddesses. And those 3 are Athena, Aphrodite, and Hera. Now, all of them get up from their seats or get up from where they are and they lunge at the apple. And when obviously they realize that all 3 of them are lunging for this apple because they all believe that they are the most beautiful, that they are the fairest, instead of fighting on the spot, they decide that they're going to go to Zeus. And hopefully Zeus will be able to choose between them. Which again is actually a very logical and calm way of handling the situation. You go, girls. As you actually might not be able to guess, when they go to Zeus and they basically pitch the idea to Zeus that he's got to pick which of the 3 goddesses who had 2 of his children and his wife, right, bear that in mind, when he's got to have this job of giving the apple to one of them, Zeus, very smartly, taps out. He decides that he wants nothing to do with this decision, and so he tells them that he's not going to judge it, but that they will get a mortal, a random mortal, to judge who is the most beautiful, who deserves this golden apple. So, along with Hermes, all 3 of the goddesses go down to the regular world and they find Paris, who at this time is just randomly in a field. The reason why they pick Paris is one of 2 things. One is that either he is just a random guy and so therefore he's going to be more honest because he's just kind of going about his day. He didn't have any time to prepare for this, whatever it happens to be. So that's one of the reasons he's totally random and that supposedly will work in the goddess's favor. Or he had previously judged another competition. He had seemed to be very, very fair in that judgment. And so therefore, the gods actually target him. That they say, okay, well, we should go and find that guy that judged that competition because he did a really good job and he'll probably do a good job again. But regardless, though, they end up going down to Paris. They hand him the apple and they tell him, you've got to pick who of the 3 of us is the fairest, is the most beautiful. Obviously, though, this is not a fair competition because the goddesses decide that they're going to barter with the judge. So all 3 of the goddesses offer Paris something different, that if they are to pick him, they will give him whatever it happens to be. Okay, so when it comes to Hera, who's queen of gods, she offers Paris power, right? Very appealing to a young man who at this time is randomly in a field. Athena offers Paris wisdom, but also strategy in war, which is also what she's goddess of in case you guys didn't know. And actually, if you've read the Iliad, he should have picked this one. And Aphrodite goes last, and she offers Paris, being the goddess of love herself, the most beautiful woman in the world. Now, this is again where the story differs, so I do not want to hear any of these comments because this is honestly doing my head in. But there are some myths where Paris is single at this time, right? So Paris does not have a wife. He's just a single, lonely man. And so he obviously jumps on the bandwagon of the most beautiful woman because he's like, yes, please, anybody. Or in some other versions, he is married. There are some versions where he, at this point, has a wife called Oenone, and she's supposed to be like very, very beautiful, but he basically just walks away from her without even so much as a conversation in order to get the most beautiful woman in the world from Aphrodite. In some versions of that, he not only is married to Oenone, but he also has a kid with her. This varies drastically. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because in my Iliad series, I didn't mention Oenone, and people came for me in the comments being like, how did you not know that he's That is not every version. The point is that he hears Aphrodite's offer and he goes, yes, please. And as we know, Helen, who is the most beautiful woman in the world, is already married to Menelaus. So obviously this was not going to go well. And it's because of this that obviously the Trojan War breaks out. But it all starts with the Judgement of Paris. And that, very generally speaking, is the mythology that you need to know in order to understand exactly what the Judgement of Paris was in most of these ancient texts. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll be seeing you next time with more general Greek mythology episodes here on the channel. So I'll see you guys then.